What's up, Bills Mafia? Welcome back to the channel where we break down everything happening with our Buffalo Bills. You guys know the deal. We're always looking to get better, to build a squad that can finally get over the hump and bring that Lombardi trophy to Buffalo. And this offseason, the front office had a plan. They wanted to reload this roster and make sure we're ready for another deep playoff run. But did they actually accomplish that? Did the Bills do enough to close the gap with the Chiefs? That's exactly what we're diving into today. Before we get started, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us keep this content rolling. So let's break it down. The Buffalo Bills went into free agency with a clear mission: give Josh Allen another weapon, improve the pass rush, retain key players, and guess what? They checked all those boxes. First, we got Josh Allen some speed. Enter Joshua Palmer, a guy who can stretch the field and give this offense another deep threat. Not a blockbuster signing, but definitely a solid addition. Then, pass rushing help was a must after moving on from Von Miller. So what did Buffalo do? They brought in Joey Bosa, Michael Holt, and Larry Ogunjobi. Even though Holt and Ogunjobi will miss the first 6 games, the Bills beefed up that defensive line in a big way. And let's talk about retaining key guys. The Bills made sure to keep Khalil Shakir, Greg Rousseau, and Terrell Bernard. 3 and critical pieces to this team's success. So ESPN took a look at all the moves and basically said, yeah, the Bills executed their offseason plan. But here's the thing, is it enough? Now, there's still some unfinished business. And the biggest piece of that puzzle? Running back James Cook. He's entering the final year of his rookie contract. And let's be real, he wants to get paid. We're talking about a guy who had 1,009 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns last season. He's proven himself as a legit top tier back in the league. The problem? The Bills have already spent a lot of money this offseason, and right now Cook is still waiting on his extension. So what happens next? Does Buffalo pay up and keep him around long term, or do they let him walk after this season and find a new running back in a draft? That's a huge question mark right now. All right, now let's talk about the defense, because there's one move that's flying under the radar. The Bills needed safety help, especially with Taylor Rapp and rookie Cole Bishop being the only ones under contract. So what did they do? They re-signed Damar Hamlin and added Derek Forrest, a low-key solid move by general manager Brandon Beane. Now, Forrest isn't a superstar, but he has starting experience and brings some depth to the position. Back in 2022, he had 88 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles. That's a guy who can make plays. The big question is, will he start? Right now, it's too early to say, but he's definitely in the mix. All right, so let's ask the big question. Did the Bills do enough to catch up to Kansas City? I mean, let's be real. The road to the Super Bowl still runs through Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're the team standing between us and a championship. So, looking at these moves, the offense got faster with Joshua Palmer. The pass rush is stronger with Bosa, Holt, and Ogunjobi. The secondary got some depth with Forrest, but is that enough? That's where opinions are split. Some fans think we still need more firepower on offense. Others believe we should have gone after a big-name cornerback. Let's start with the basics. Why is Von Miller even available right now? The Bills released Miller as a salary cap casualty earlier this offseason, and that move wasn't exactly shocking. Miller was set to have a massive cap hit, and with Buffalo needing to make tough financial decisions, they decided to move on. Plus, they signed Joey Bosa to a $12.6 million deal to bring some fresh energy to the pass rush. But here's the twist. Miller doesn't want to retire. In fact, he made it very clear that he wants to keep playing, and not just anywhere. His preference is to play in Buffalo. What Brandon Beane said, the door is open, host. So with Miller still on the market, the big question is, could he actually come back? Last week, GM Brandon Beane was asked about the possibility, and here's what he had to say. I had a very good conversation with him the other day before we released him, and would never close the door on bringing him back. Whether it's now, whether it's later in the spring or in season. That's a pretty big statement. He's not saying it's a done deal, but he's also not ruling it out. And let's be real, this is Von Miller we're talking about. He's a future Hall of Famer, a two-time Super Bowl champion, and one of the best pass rushers the NFL has ever seen. If he still has something left in the tank, could a reunion actually make sense? Miller's performance, is he still the same player? Host, now let's talk about what really matters. Can Von Miller still be a difference maker on the field? When the Bills signed Miller to that 6-year, $120 million contract back in 2022, he was absolutely dominating. In his first 9 games with Buffalo, he racked up 8.0 sacks and was making clutch plays to close out games. But then ACL injury, and since then, things haven't been the same. 2023 was a lost season. He just never looked like himself. 2024 was better. He finished with 6.0 sacks in 13 games, which is decent, but he still didn't seem to have that same explosiveness. And let's not forget, he also served a 4-game suspension in the middle of the season. So the question is, if he comes back, what version of Von Miller are we getting? Pros and cons of bringing Von Miller. Back pros, leadership and championship mentality. Even beyond his on-field performance, Miller brings a mindset that's invaluable. He knows what it takes to win a Super Bowl, and young players in the locker room look up to him. Depth in the pass rush. Adding Miller back would give the Bills even more options at edge rusher, especially with guys like Bosa, Greg Rousseau, and Leonard Floyd already in the mix. Low-cost signing? If Miller is willing to take a team-friendly deal, he could be a solid rotational player without breaking the bank. Cons, age and declining production. Miller is turning 36 years old. The reality is most pass rushers don't keep up elite production at that age. Injury concerns. After the ACL tear, Miller hasn't looked like the same guy. Can his body still handle the grind of an NFL season? Roster spot. The Bills already have a stacked defensive line. Would bringing Miller back take away opportunities from younger developing players? What happens next? Will Buffalo make the move? Host. So what happens now? Von Miller is still a free agent. And as of today, there's no official word on where he's signing. But as long as he's out there, the possibility of a return to Buffalo is real. Maybe it happens before training camp. Maybe it's a mid-season move if the Bills feel like they need extra pass rushing help. Or maybe it doesn't happen at all. But one thing's for sure, Brandon Beane is keeping his options open, and that means Bills fans should too. So Bills. Mafia, it all comes down to this. What's next? We're probably going to see Buffalo make a couple more moves, but the NFL draft is where the real action is coming. Do the Bills go after another wide receiver? Do they draft a young cornerback? Do they bring in a late free agent signing? That's where we'll get the final pieces of this puzzle. Now, I want to hear from you, Bills Mafia. Let's talk in the comments. Did the Bills do enough in free agency? Should we pay James Cook? What's still missing on this roster? Drop your thoughts below, and let's get this debate going. Alright, that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button. It helps more Bills fans find this content. And if you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We've got plenty more coverage coming, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Bills!